We bought into this complete falsehood that at some point you're going to have the courage. At some point you're going to have the confidence, and it's total bullshit, frankly. Are we allowed to swear on this show?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's complete garbage, and so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation, and that's not true, because the way that our minds are wired. And the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary, which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never gonna feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I know exactly why that is. Because I've studied this so much, because for me, one of the hardest things to figure out was, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, and what we'll talk a lot about today, is that the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea, you're sitting in a meeting, you have this incredible idea, and instead of just, you know, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do, and what's changed my life, is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never gonna feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. None of us wake up and say, today is the day I destroy my life. What we do is we kind of check out because it feels overwhelming. Or we check out because we're afraid, or we check out because we start listening to self-doubt, and then we make these teeny tiny decisions all day long. We don't even realize it. A decision to not get up on time, a decision to not eat the right thing, a decision to snap at your kids, a decision to not speak in a meeting, a decision to not look for a job, a decision to not deal with your finances, a decision to not call your parents, like whatever it is. All day long, these tiny decisions that take you so far off track. And then you wake up like I did, and you look at your life and you think, how the hell did I get here? And your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything.
Trying to get people to think, like, wait a minute, am I doing the thing that I want to do? Or is it cultural pressure, pressure from my parents, pressure from the mortgage and the family to do some other thing? Right. And it just, lo and behold, there's a lot of people for whom that has been a bigger shaper of what they're on their path to do, as opposed to the thing that they actually want to do. Certainly there's always a feeling, and that's the thing that we are taught to ignore feelings. I think we've done a terrible job culturally, not just in the US, but in the West. We've done a very bad job of cultivating one's desire, expectation, ability to listen to our intuition. And it was, you know, we all have different paths, some through sort of grief, some through achievement, some through struggle, to start to listen to. We all have that compass.
the question is, what are the filters we're using? And so if you're only chasing the mighty dollar, then you will have jobs that'll pay you a little more than the last, but are you enjoying yourself? And I talked to a guy recently who was he's in bad shape. Like, he really hates his life, and he's really depressed, and he doesn't know what to do. And so we were going through all his old jobs, you know, and I said, give me a job that you've loved. And he hadn't. Every single job he's chosen out of college, he picked because of the money, and if something offered him more somewhere else, he took it, you know, regardless. And the amazing thing is he plateaued, because if you're only chasing the result, if you're only chasing the thing that makes it easy, right? Then eventually you will get bored, or they'll get bored of you, right? And you plateau. In other words, chasing the almighty dollar, if that's your only thing, it eventually flattens out. Whereas if you're chasing the thing that excites you, the human beings to be around, the work that excites you, the stuff that you can get passionate about, you know, the irony is you'll actually make way more, right? Because you're excited, and they appreciate your excitement, and they reward your excitement, and you're better at your work because you want to work harder, and all of that stuff. You don't have to strain to work harder. So decision making is simply a matter of filters, you know. And so I've made decisions in my life that I would rather be happy than right. I'd rather do good than get rich, and so the decisions I make put me in positions where when I leave any engagement, when I leave any meeting, I feel that I've contributed, right? Rare are the times anymore where you walk away going, just think of the money, just think of the money, think of the money, you know? Because it doesn't feel nice. And the experience I have, I don't enjoy traveling to them, and I don't enjoy traveling home. Where if I have an amazing experience, I am looking forward to getting there, and I'm excited when I leave. Yeah. You know, so it's just decision making is just a matter of what filters you use.
Often in life, we know what to do, but we don't do what we know. And another way that's been said is common sense isn't always common practice. And sometimes our intuition is screaming at us, but the demands of the day, the distractions in life are pulling our mind in a million different directions. And our psychology, our brains, our intuition is so drained that sometimes that noise makes it really hard for us to listen to our own hearts. There was this scene in this movie, Shawshank Redemption. And it's very symbolistic in a lot of ways, a lot of metaphors into the scene. And it's shortly after Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins' character, escapes out of prison. And he literally climbs through a river of shit to come out to freedom on the other side. Listening to Morgan Freeman's character, Red, talk about how much he missed his friend and how much the place had changed without him there. But then he said this line: some birds just can't be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. That's you. So if you're hearing this and you've been in a cage and imprisoned by your circumstances, your life, habits, patterns, environment, relationships, whatever it is, realize you're too big for that. And it might take climbing through a river of shit for you to find your freedom. But the journey is worth it. Don't let anything stop you. Keep pushing.
The brain is kind of like a muscle. And specifically, there's a part of the brain that we really care about. It's the part that's doing self-control. So if you think about it, in simple way to look at it is that you start running. You go running. The first mile, your legs say, let's run. And the brain that controls them says, let's run. And another part of the brain says, no problem at all. After 1 mile, your legs say, it's a little bit painful, but the other brain that controls them say, keep going. After 10 miles, the legs say, I want to quit. And the other part say, no, keep going. And there's like a battle there, and at some point you're going to break. Now, when you're going to break depends on a lot of things. Your muscles, but it also depends on this kind of control coming from the front of your brain that overrides your experience, your pain.
There's a banality to being an entrepreneur. There is a willingness to suffer to being an entrepreneur. To being a great mom, like whatever it is that you're trying to do, suffering is involved. And it literally, like the being able to extend your break point is what it's about.
We all face those moments. When the alarm buzzes at 6 a.m., we set the alarm at 10 p.m., and suddenly in the morning we're different people. Like we're not the person who wants to wake up anymore. And it's the same brain that set the alarm at 10 p.m., but now suddenly at 6 a.m., we're not the same guy. This is a moment like that. We have to make a choice. When we're going running, when we're about to eat the cake, there's like a tasty cake and we're on a diet. And we say, oh, I shouldn't eat the cake, but there's a conflict. And now is the moment where those two parts of the brain come to life And the more you know about yourself, the more you're aware of those situations, the better you can do in controlling them. And the more you know about yourself, you can do better in all of those tasks. And that's kind of the ultimate thing. That's why we're here. We're giving you the knowledge, and once you know, it doesn't work anymore. Once you know that 699 isn't 7, it's harder for it to work. So just knowing is enough for people to do better. To know that it's in your capacity to change. And that's what we want.
So how do you teach people to start companies? How do you get people to replicate your journey? And it can be in almost any field. Is people have problems in their lives. And most people sit there and dwell on the problems, or they relive yesterday. Every day you spend living yesterday's problem, you're giving up your future. It makes no sense. But if you say, I have problems, or am I unique? Am I the only one that has these problems? And the answer probably is no, okay? So find a problem that a lot of people have, solve it, and that's all that being an entrepreneur is, that's all the business person is. The more problems you have in your life, the more successful you'll be. Wait, I'm sitting in traffic. Phone company knows that my phone's here and your phone's there. If they can tell your phone to go left and mine to go right, there's no traffic. That was the insight. And a lot of people go, well, you're talking about tech stuff, I'm not an engineer. How many lines of code did Steve Jobs write in his career building the world's biggest tech company?
0.
Yeah. All the big famous people that you hear about, you know, Richard Branson and Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg and everyone, they're no different than you are, right? 70-something% of the world's billionaires are self-made. So you can achieve this. Now, it's not going to be easy. You don't just wake up on Tuesday and become rich on Wednesday. But it doesn't take any more effort than going to a job that you hate. And unless you believe in reincarnation, you got one shot on this planet. One shot. So don't you want to make a difference? Don't you want to leave something behind and make the planet better than you found it? Why are you here? What do you want to accomplish with your life? And it doesn't have to be being rented, and it doesn't have to be money-oriented. The same principles in Disrupt You can change the educational system, you can change healthcare. I mean, I am humbled by what I'm seeing people create around the world with so little. But we are on this ball together. We can solve problems together. We can make a better future together. You know, it's an optimistic story that you get to write your piece of the story. I mean, why wouldn't people want to push their potential? So aim for the stars. If you didn't make it all the way, you made it to the moon, you know, not bad.
When you want to excel at something, what must you have? Did I just hear somebody say passion in the audience? You know what passion is? Passion is an emotion. It's an emotion without an action. Passion will get you nowhere. Inner drive will get you nowhere unless you act on it. You have to act on your passion. You have to act on your inner drive. Don't let those feelings stay inside of you. You got to know what to do with them. You got to know how to make them work in order to get what you want. Don't keep it inside. Remember, the mind controls the body. The body does not control the mind. What makes these guys special and successful in everything they do is not their physical gifts, it's their mental toughness. They have the ability not to think when everyone else is thinking. Decide, commit, act, succeed, repeat.
So I'm sitting in the back of a taxi with a very senior Apple executive, sort of employee number 12 kind of guy. And, you know, I like to stir pots. So I turned to him, I said, you know, Microsoft gave me their new Zoom. And it is so much better than your iPod Touch. And he turned to me and he said, I have no doubt. Conversation over. Because the infinite player understands sometimes you're ahead and sometimes you're behind. Sometimes your product is better and sometimes it's worse. The goal isn't to be the best every day. The goal isn't to outdo your competition every day. That's a finite construction. Finite players play to beat the people around them. Infinite players play to be better than themselves. To wake up every single day and say, how can we make our company a better version of itself today than it was yesterday? How can we create a product this week that's better than the product we created last week? We also have to play the infinite game. It's not about being ranked number 1. It's not about having more followers on Twitter than your friends. It's not about outdoing anyone. It's about how to outdo yourself. It's not about selling more books or getting more TED views than somebody else. It's about how to make sure that the work that you're producing is better than the work you produced before. You are your competition. And that is what ensures you stay in the game the longest. And that is what ensures you find joy. Because the joy comes not from comparison, but from advancement.
People misunderstand money, okay, just like fundamentally. And it's actually not money, they misunderstand themselves. They misunderstand what they actually want. What people want is fulfillment. What people want is to feel good. And they think that, wow, if I had, and here's the truth. What they know is when they buy something, it does feel good. And they know if I could buy my mom a house, like that would feel good. If I could buy her a big house, a fancy car, make me feel good. And it is all 100% true. Buying a fancy car will make you feel good. Buying a big house will make you feel good. But it makes you feel good the way a bowl of ice cream makes you feel good. It's momentary happiness. It's transient. It will go away. The hedonic reset point. So you buy the big house and all of a sudden that's normal, baby. And so you really have to stop and like, A, remind yourself to be grateful for that, but B, recognize that all the things you thought money was going to bring you, it brings you something completely different. And if you want fulfillment, fulfillment is about being something, becoming something. It's born of suffering. It is not born of having a cool car, because you want a cool car because of the way you want other people to look at you.
Right, and the way that will make you feel when you think that they look at you like that.
Exactly. So it's tenuous at best. And it hinges entirely on them actually looking at you that way. So now you're somebody else's pawn because they can turn on you at any minute. So that's never going to bring you lasting fulfillment. It's not stable. It doesn't make you feel strong and rooted. But becoming somebody, setting your sights on gaining certain skill sets, of feeling a certain way, of being calm, being, full of gratitude, like all the things from a neurochemical standpoint that we read as good, like none of money can't touch those things. So working on what I call framework happiness is the key to all that stuff, and money can't give you framework happiness.
The only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill, right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked,
right?
Period.
Yeah.
You might have more talent than me, you might be smarter than me, you might be sexier than me, you might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm gonna die. It's really that simple.
And it's related to this pendulum when it comes to fitness, when it comes to personal development, when it comes to business success advice, any kind of other advice, is that a lot of people, there's been a lot of marketing in the last couple of years that is basically doing this. It's saying, hey, find the experts. And I've been saying this as well. Many times I say this, right? Find the experts, find the guy who has done it, find the guys who have the results that you want, that has the business, that has the body, that has the lifestyle, that has the relationships, and study them, learn from them, master what they know, because they will probably be able to help you to get to your goal faster, right? And that's the assumption, and that's true, right? If you seek out an expert in, let's say, someone who has built multiple 7-figure businesses, obviously, you can learn from them and you'll be able to get there faster. Similarly with relationships, if you find someone who is an expert at that, they'll be able to help you get there faster. To whatever person you want to meet, or to master social skills, to get better at that, obviously they will know, right? And it's really good that we live in an age where there is that information out there, there is that abundance, and there is that ability for you to kind of use that as a shortcut to get your results faster. But now what's happened is that there's this pendulum that has swung in that direction, where people will spend literally all of their time studying other people. Like 99% of their time will be spent studying and trying to copy what other people are doing, and there's 0 minutes spent studying yourself, right? And studying yourself is where you actually see whether something is working for you or not. And it's almost like people are blinded, and there's obviously a finite amount of time. And if you're not studying yourself, you're not looking at what works for you, how are you gonna figure that out? How are you gonna get results? And mean, success is not random. You know, it's not like it'll randomly happen because you read this book. It's not gonna randomly happen because you met this guy or you networked with this guy or you copied this guy's workout or you bought a program. I mean, it's not randomly gonna happen. But what is gonna happen is that you're gonna take action based on the ideas, based on the principles or the methods that you potentially received from some of those programs, from some of those people that are really successful, and you apply some of that stuff and you see what stuff works for you and you discard the stuff that doesn't work for you. That's basically how it works.
I want to think of your journey like, it's almost like you see that light at the end of the tunnel, but you also want to think of it like a narrow road. You want to think of success as a narrow road. So you are walking that line of success, but you have a more focused set of behaviors than most people, and you're constantly course correcting. So you're learning from where you fucked up, and you're taking the lesson and then course correcting again and again and again and again. And you know who I actually kind of learned it from? It was interesting. I learned it from watching Kobe Bryant win a championship against Boston 2 years ago. Because every game that the Lakers would play, whenever they would lose, they would always talk about the little lessons that they got from the loss and about how they had the ultimate vision of the championship and how they needed it to come together for the championship.
And it doesn't matter where you're at right now, what you've done in the past, or where you think you're going. You can always create a better tomorrow if you start taking action today. So I want you to think about what is the vision, where do you want to be in 10 years, and what's the action step you can take right now. Again, it doesn't matter how broke or how broken you are, you can always create a better future if you start with a positive mindset right now.